The Veiled Hijaz, Richard Francis Burton, and The Sacred World Before Oil and Nation-States. Introduction. A world partially seen, a world about to change. In the middle decades of the 19th century, Arabia occupied a peculiar position in the European imagination. It was not entirely unknown, yet it remained fundamentally elusive. Classical geography, medieval travel accounts, Quranic references, and scattered diplomatic reports offered fragments rather than a coherent picture. Nowhere was this partial visibility more pronounced than in the Hijaz. Mecca and Medina, the spiritual axis of the Islamic world, stood deliberately apart, protected not by walls alone, but by religious law, communal vigilance, and centuries of tradition. For European readers shaped by Enlightenment assumptions that knowledge should be universal and unrestricted, this exclusion exerted a deep intellectual fascination. Arabia was not simply unmapped territory, it was forbidden knowledge. It was into this world that Sir Richard Francis Burton entered in the early 1850s, recording his experiences in A Personal Narrative of a Pilgrimage to El-Medinah and Meccah, 1855-56. Burton's book has often been read narrowly, as an adventure tale, an orientalist curiosity, or a scandalous narrative of disguise. Yet it also functions as something more enduring, a detailed snapshot of the Hijaz on the eve of modern transformation. Burton did not merely describe places, he captured a way of life that would soon be altered irrevocably by steamships, imperial regulation, railways, borders, oil, and the rise of the modern nation-state. This integrated essay brings together two perspectives. First, it follows Burton's journey through Arabia, tracing what he saw and how he understood it. Second, it situates his observations within a broader historical frame, reconstructing the Hijaz as it existed before oil and modern sovereignty. Burton is treated neither as hero nor villain, but as a historically situated witness, one observer among many, whose detailed gaze allows us to glimpse a world now largely vanished. Burton the linguist and cultural apprentice. Richard Francis Burton was not a conventional Victorian traveller. Long before Arabia, he had immersed himself in India, mastering Hindustani and several regional languages, studying Islamic law and practice, and cultivating an unusual willingness to cross social and cultural boundaries. Unlike many contemporaries who relied on interpreters and colonial intermediaries, Burton sought proximity. He believed language was not merely a tool of communication, but the key to perception itself. By the time he conceived his pilgrimage to Mecca, Burton had spent years studying Arabic, ritual practice, and Islamic theology. His adoption of the persona Sheikh Abdullah was not a theatrical whim, but the culmination of long preparation. He trained his body as carefully as his mind, learning how to pray, walk, gesture, eat, and react as a Muslim pilgrim. In his narrative, Burton repeatedly emphasizes that a single mistake, a mispronounced formula, an unfamiliar ritual gesture could lead to exposure. This preparation shaped the tone of his narrative. Burton does not write as a tourist skimming surfaces, but as someone attempting to pass, to belong temporarily, and therefore to see from within. His gaze remains external, but it is disciplined, informed, and unusually intimate for its time. From Egypt to Arabia, crossing into the sacred world. Burton's journey began in Egypt, then formerly Ottoman, but increasingly entangled with the European power. Cairo, familiar to travellers and scholars, served as a threshold. It was a known city, and thus a point of departure from the familiar into the unknown. Joining pilgrims bound for Arabia, Burton crossed the Red Sea to Yanbu, the port serving Medina. His descriptions of the voyage reveal pilgrimage as a liminal experience. Africans, Indians, Arabs, Central Asians and Turks, people who would never otherwise meet, were temporarily united by shared ritual purpose. Hierarchies persisted, but they were softened by the collective vulnerability of travel. Yanbu appears in Burton's account as functional rather than grand. It was a gateway town, shaped by trade, surveillance and suspicion. Here, Burton's writing shifts from general travelogue to careful observation of dialects, clothing, markets and local authority. Yanbu exemplifies the Hijaz itself, precarious, necessary and sustained by movement. Medina, memory, devotion and quiet authority. Medina occupies a central emotional and analytical place in Burton's narrative. Unlike Mecca, which he approached with anxiety and awe, Medina was a city in which he lingered. His descriptions of the Prophet's mosque remain among the most detailed European accounts of the period. Medina before oil was a city structured by memory. Its identity revolved around the Prophet's presence, historical, spiritual and architectural. Burton notes a quieter atmosphere than in Mecca, less commercial, more contemplative. Social hierarchy reflected proximity to the sacred, both physically and symbolically. Economically, Medina depended heavily on Ottoman stipends and charitable endowments, WAQF, many established centuries earlier by rulers from across the Muslim world, from Cairo to Istanbul to Delhi. These WAQF networks reveal how the Hijaz functioned within a trans-regional Islamic economy, sustained not by production but by piety. Money flowed without profit motive, supporting scholars, caretakers and the poor. Burton also observes variations in piety. He distinguishes between quiet devotion and performative religiosity, resisting, though not entirely escaping, the urge to homogenize Muslim belief. Medina, in his account, becomes a city where faith, history and daily survival intertwine. The Hijaz as a sacred corridor. To understand Burton's Arabia is to understand the Hijaz as a sacred corridor rather than a state. Before oil and modern sovereignty, the region was not governed through centralized bureaucracy. Authority was fragmented and negotiated, resting on lineage, custom and ritual legitimacy. Mecca and Medina were not capitals of power, but capitals of meaning. The Sharifs of Mecca ruled not through armies, but through descent from the Prophet and their role as custodians of the holy places. Ottoman authority remained deliberately light. The Sultan styled himself protector of the sacred cities, sent subsidies and appointed officials, but allowed local autonomy to prevail. This system endured precisely because it was flexible. Sovereignty was moral as much as territorial. Control depended less on coercion than on consensus, mediation, and the successful management of pilgrims. The road to Mecca. Danger, discipline, and performance. The journey from Medina to Mecca forms the dramatic core of Burton's narrative. He emphasizes danger, raids, disease, exhaustion, and constant risk of exposure. Whether exaggerated or not, these dangers reflect the fragility of travel in a land without modern infrastructure. This section also reveals the performative nature of identity. Burton is acutely aware of his body, how he reacts to pain, how he prays, how he expresses emotion. Identity here is enacted rather than assumed. The personal narrative becomes at moments a meditation on how belonging is performed. Bedouin tribes feature prominently. Burton portrays them with ambivalence, admiring their endurance while fearing their unpredictability. In reality, these tribes were central to Hijazi stability. They controlled routes, wells, and seasonal grazing. Raiding and protection were not opposites, but elements of a negotiated moral economy. Mecca, ritual, crowds, and sacred intensity. Burton's arrival in Mecca marks the narrative's emotional peak. His descriptions are careful, almost restrained. He depicts the Kaaba, the Great Mosque, and the rituals of the Hajj with precision rather than spectacle. Mecca appears not merely as a city, but as a convergence of the Muslim world. Pilgrims from Africa, South Asia, Central Asia, and the Ottoman lands bring languages, customs, and grievances. Burton notes regional distinctions and economic disparities, yet he is struck by the psychological power of collective ritual. The Hajj, the Tawaf, the sea, the standing at Arafat is described step by step. Burton avoids theological mockery, focusing instead on the emotional force of shared movement and devotion. Even from an external perspective, he recognizes the transformative intensity of the experience. The pilgrimage economy, faith in motion. The Hajj was the lifeblood of the Hijaz. Each year, tens or hundreds of thousands of pilgrims transformed the region. Temporary markets emerged, prices fluctuated, and social distinctions blurred. Burton observes pilgrims from across the Islamic world, noting linguistic diversity and differing degrees of wealth. More importantly, he recognizes that the pilgrimage created a shared temporal experience. For a few weeks each year, the Hijaz became the center of a vast civilizational network. Long before modern globalization, the Hijaz functioned as an information hub. News, books, political ideas, and theological debates traveled with pilgrims. The region was poor in material resources, but rich in connectivity. Observation and the Victorian mind. Throughout his narrative, Burton classifies. He categorizes peoples, dialects, sects, and temperaments, reflecting the intellectual habits of his age. To modern readers, this impulse can appear reductive, yet it also represents an attempt to impose order on overwhelming diversity. Burton's judgments are not uniformly hostile. He praises hospitality, intelligence, and resilience where he finds them. At the same time, he interprets social problems, poverty, violence, disorder, through cultural frameworks typical of 19th century thought. His observations reveal as much about Victorian assumptions as about the Hijaz itself. A world on the edge of transformation. By Burton's time, the Hijaz stood at the edge of profound change. Steamships shortened the Red Sea crossing. European consuls appeared in Jeddah. Cholera outbreaks prompted international health regulations. The logic of modern administration was approaching. Yet, internally, the Hijaz still operated according to older rhythms. Authority remained personal, ritual remained central, and economic life remained seasonal. Burton sensed that this world was fragile, but he documented it before it disappeared. Past and present, from sacred corridor to state territory. The contrast between Burton's Hijaz and the present is stark. Today, pilgrimage is regulated, standardized, and securitized. Sacred space has been absorbed into state space. Borders, passports, and infrastructure have transformed the experience of movement and devotion. What was once a loosely governed sacred commons has become a tightly administered national territory. Efficiency has replaced improvisation. Order has replaced negotiation. Something has been gained: safety, scale, predictability. But something has also been lost: a political imagination in which legitimacy flowed from memory and ritual rather than bureaucracy. Conclusion. Burton as witness to a lost world. Richard Francis Burton did not merely travel through Arabia, he passed through a historical threshold. His personal narrative captures the Hijaz at the moment before its transformation into a modern geopolitical space. Read today, his work offers more than adventure or controversy. It provides a rare window into a world sustained by belief, movement, and negotiated authority. A world that functioned for centuries without oil, borders, or nation-states. To revisit the Hijaz through Burton and other witnesses is not an exercise in nostalgia. It is an invitation to recognize that the political and moral orders we now take for granted are neither eternal nor inevitable. In the crowded streets of Mecca and the quiet courtyards of Medina, a different way of organizing human life once endured, leaving traces that still shape the present, even as the world that produced them has passed into history. In the crowded streets of Mecca and the quiet courtyards of Medina, a different way of organizing human life once endured, leaving traces that still shape the present, even as the world that produced them has passed into history.